Today we're taking a look at the best way to have pressurized water on demand no matter where you are. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. Today we're taking a look at the RinseKIT CUBE. If you want to see my first impressions and my real world use of this specific unit, you can check out my last adventure video where we had this thing out on a camping trip on the trails, and I started testing this thing to put it to some good use. Now, the reason I became interested in this is because about a month ago we did a trip down to Arizona and my buddy had the RinseKIT Pro. We were out overlanding and camping on the road for over a week straight, and we were of course using utensils and cookware every single day, so we needed a good way to keep that clean. I was able to use my buddy's RinseKIT Pro, and I realized that this is a great piece of gear that I probably should leave in my truck full time when I'm out there camping. Now, the Cube specifically is one of the newer models coming from RinseKIT, and this one is definitely detailed a little bit more towards that overlanding camping crowd. So let's take a look at some of the details and I will explain to you guys how I have found some uses for it. The RinseKIT CUBE is obviously a device to have pressurized water with you wherever you go. This has a 4-gallon capacity with a battery system and that water pump built into it. You get 4 gallons of pressurized water with a push of a button thanks to the AMG 12-volt 5-amp battery. Now, I charged this battery up as soon as I got it, and I probably will not have to charge it again for quite a long time. This thing is rated for 15,000 hours of use, and it only needs to be charged every few months. I think this RinseKIT CUBE is really following that keep it simple, stupid mentality, because what you see is really what you get. There's a little cap right on top which you unscrew to fill this thing up with that 4 gallons of water, which you can do in your bathtub, with a garden hose, or even at your kitchen sink. Now, what differs the RinseKIT CUBE from the Pro is the build quality of this thing. RinseKIT says that this is made out of military grade materials to withstand the toughest outdoor conditions. And when comparing this thing right next to the Pro, I definitely see how this thing can be a lot more rugged. It is a one-piece design all the way around, with that top handle actually included into the unit itself rather than being a moving part. There are really no moving parts on the outside of this thing, so the possibility of breaking it is probably pretty low. This thing is really made for the road, to be in the back of your truck or any kind of overland vehicle for that matter. It has a really convenient shape because it is a cube, and there are stainless steel tie downs on all 4 corners of this thing. That way it's not going to be bouncing around and bumping into your other gear. Now, when you look at the front of the Cube, you will find an IP65 waterproof control panel. That means when I'm filling this thing up or actually using it, I don't have to worry about getting it wet because this thing can handle it all. On the top left, we have a 12-volt power port. Just to the right of that, we have 2 USB ports for charging any kind of extra devices that you may have with you. And then on the bottom left, we have the power pump to actually turn this thing on. And just to the right of that, we have a screen which is giving you real-time feedback by reading out the water temperature inside of the unit, as well as the ring around the outside, which is indicating your battery life. On top behind the handle, you will find a 7-foot long hose and a 5-setting spray nozzle. There are a bunch of different settings on this nozzle, kind of just like a garden hose. You of course have a fine mist setting. Right next to that is the center setting. That's giving you a little bit more pressure and a little bit more of a refined stream. Then you have the flat, which is sort of like a pressure washer. And then the most powerful, the jet, which allows you to spray water some pretty good distances. And then my favorite setting, which I'm typically using for everything that I've been using the RinseKIT for, the shower setting. So that's really the simple overview. A nice, convenient, small package that holds 4 gallons of water, so we're getting half a gallon more than the RinseKIT Pro. It's a lot more rugged, so it can bounce around in the back of a vehicle. With the tie-down points, it doesn't have to bounce around. Everything is self-contained with that waterproof panel on here, and I have really been using this thing kind of like a mobile garden hose. Of course, my intended use for this thing was really to stay clean around camp, really to wash my dishes, because I've used a lot of different methods to keep camp dishes clean, but when you're traveling on the road day after day using all of that stuff, it gets pretty gross unless you have a good supply of water to keep everything clean. So I, of course, am using this to clean pots and pans and cups and other utensils while we're out there camping. But I've also found a lot of other really simple applications for this thing, even while I'm around the house. I of course have a few different vehicles that I like to keep clean all of the time, and I have a whole big process with a pressure washer and all sorts of soap and bubbles and stuff like that. However, from time to time you just want to go out there and clean the wheels of your vehicle. So the first application where I was using this at home was actually just to clean the wheels of my Supra right here. Instead of pulling out my pressure washing contraption and then going around back to hook it up to a garden hose, it takes a little bit of time and it's kind of annoying. 4 gallons is plenty to wash all 4 wheels. I was able to simply spray the wheels off, hit them with some wheel cleaner, let it sit for a while, brush them off, and then rinse them off with a shower setting. Made my life super easy. And then, like I mentioned, this thing is sort of like a mobile garden hose. You have that pressurized water, so we've actually been using this thing to water plants around the house as well. You of course have the jet setting on there, which is really high pressure and it will kind of cause some damage to your plants, but the shower setting or even the mist setting is good for any kind of smaller plants that you may have around the house. It's like a 4-gallon watering can that you can just kind of carry around with you. And then probably one of my favorite home uses for the RinseKIT Cube so far was actually giving our pup Camber a bath. She is not a huge fan of getting baths, although she does love swimming, so typically we would kind of put her in the tub and just wrestle her to actually get clean. We had the idea with the RinseKIT to just take her out in the backyard while it's nice and hot and sunny, and we just sprayed her down, lathered her up with some shampoo, rinsed her off, conditioner, rinse her off again. And although she does not love bath time, I think the RinseKIT Cube made our lives a lot easier when it came to that. Now that's a lot of good things that I've said about this, however I do have some feedback that could probably make this thing a little bit better. The nozzle on here is actually removable from the 7-foot hose, which wraps up nice and conveniently on top of the unit like this. You will notice though that the hose is not removable, so no matter what you do, this hose is going to be fixed to the unit itself. Since this thing is so compact and like really easy to store and strap down, I would like to see that be removable. That way I can store it maybe in some of my other camping gear. That way it's not really gonna be a mess up here. It does look very clean and there's actually a reason for that. Another piece of feedback that I would give is this little rubber bungee here, which actually holds the nozzle in place. When I got the RinseKIT, it was actually located over here, but no matter how I wrapped up this 7-foot of hose on here, the nozzle would always fall in this back corner. So instead of kind of like just letting it dangle over the side here by using this rubber tab, I just moved the tab to the back corner where this nozzle falls, and now it's not gonna go anywhere when we're bouncing around on trails. And the third and final thing that I would give feedback on is actually on the bottom of this thing. There are no rubber feet on here, and as you can tell, can kind of slide around and move pretty easily. Now that is not a huge deal, but I would like to see some rubber feet on this in the future, which is something that I could add. I could just get some like 3M sticky feet and put it on here. That way this thing is not going to move around if you are pulling the hose around your campsite while this thing is sitting on your tailgate. So overall, I've really been enjoying the RinseKIT, although I've only been using it for a few weeks now. This thing is small and compact, very easy to pack in with the rest of my camping gear, so there's pretty much no reason that I should go on a trip without having 4 gallons of pressurized water with me. So in the future, you guys will definitely see me using this thing on some trips through Colorado and basically everywhere else we're going this summer throughout the country. So stay tuned for that stuff here on the channel, and if you have any questions on the RinseKIT Cube, let me know in the comments down below. Now if you guys enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you left it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, consider clicking subscribe because I make new videos every single week. As always, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.